everybody. On this video of grammar sampling, we're going to talk about semicolons. So last week we had talked about combining two complete sentences using a coordinating conjunction and a comma. So this is going to extend that discussion from last week. So if you remember this lovely drawing that we talked about last week of our car coming up to the four-way stop. Okay, and we talked about how certain kinds of punctuation make you pause longer than others. Okay, so when you're reading a sentence, how long to pause? Just like when you're in a car and you come to that four-way intersection and that stop sign, how long to pause? Do you come to a complete stop? You know, those are the types of things that we're going to continue talking about today. So I have a series of sentences. Says, snow is overrated. I don't see why so many people like it. Okay, so what I've done is I've combined this sentence in three ways. Okay, so the first one should be a review from what we talked about last week. So I say, snow is overrated, comma, so I don't see why so many people like it. Okay, that's that comma coordinating conjunction thing we talked about last week. Okay, but we said that this week's focus is going to be on semicolons. So all I've done in this second sentence is change that comma coordinating conjunction to a semicolon. Okay, now what this does is two things. One, it makes you pause longer than the first instance. Okay, it also creates equal weight to both sides of the sentence. So in this first example with the comma so, our comma coordinating conjunction. Okay, so this one is, you come up to that stop sign, it's a sunny day, you're familiar with the area, you've got great visibility, there's nobody there, right? So this one you kind of pump your brakes, you slow down, but you don't come to a complete stop. Okay, now with the semicolon, you do come to a complete stop, but maybe in this intersection example, it's rainy and you want to make sure that you have come to a complete stop, even though you are familiar with where you're headed before you continue into the second part, right? Okay, the third example is more complex. So we have that semicolon, but it's followed by what is called a conjunctive adverb. So in this case, therefore. Okay, so let's read that one out loud and see how it's different. Snow is overrated, therefore, I don't see why so many people like it. Okay, so it actually causes you to pause at the beginning and after. Okay, so in our car example with the four-way intersection. Okay, so this one, we come up to the intersection and there's a cop at the other side. Okay, so we not only have to stop, but we wait for that car to roll to a stop before we continue on to the rest of our destination, or in this instance, the rest of our sentence. Okay, so we've got a couple examples, and as usual, they're going to increase in difficulty. Okay, so the first one says, Tony got a promotion at work. Now his family can take that vacation to Disney World. Okay, so we know that both parts of this idea, or these two sentences, are joined by similar topic. Okay, and in this instance, we've simply combined them with a semicolon. Okay, but let's see how a sentence like this can get more complicated. Okay, so in this example, still talking about Tony in this promotion, but we've got one of those conjunctive adverbs, in this case, however. Okay, so the first one says, Tony enjoys his new position at work. However, he is now required to travel for work. Okay, so just like any promotion, it's got its pluses and minuses, right? Okay, so this is similar to that snow sentence that we talked about at the very beginning. So our first sentence ends here after work. Tony enjoys his new position at work. That's a sentence. Okay, so that's how we know where to put our semicolon. And however is followed by that comma. Okay, so again, creating that large pause. Okay, that complete stop. The second sentence has however in it as well, although the location has changed. Okay, so Tony enjoys his new position at work. That's still where our semicolon goes. He is, however, required to travel for work. Okay, so because however is now interrupting the second sentence, we have to set it off in commas. We talked about this when we talked about phrases and clauses a couple of weeks ago, so that part should still be a little bit of a review for you. What this tells us, though, is that grammar is not always one way or another. It's going to change just how we like to change the variety of our sentences. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. Semicolons connect two independent clauses, aka two complete sentences. Semicolons cause the reader to pause, like we said, coming up to that stop sign, more when reading than if the sentence uses only a comma, okay, that comma coordinating conjunction. And then conjunctive adverbs, that's words like however, therefore, create the longest of these pauses and place emphasis on what follows. okay? So let's look at our big whammy sentence. So this is going to use something that we've talked about in a previous week, as well as give us a preview of what we're looking at next week for grammar sampling, okay? So it says, Sally watches shows on 3 television networks. Grey's Anatomy on ABC, The Amazing Race on CBS, and This Is Us on ABC. So hopefully you've noticed that we have items in a series going on right here. Okay, so we have to figure out, where does our list start? It starts after networks, okay? So we'll put our colon, that's the 2 dots, there after networks, okay? Then we have to figure out, well, how many things are we listing? We're listing 3 things, okay? So we've got Grey's Anatomy, ABC, that's 1. The Amazing Race on CBS, that's 2. And This Is Us on NBC, that's the 3rd one, okay? So we know that we separate items in a series with commas, right? So we'll put a comma after ABC, comma after CBS, okay? But this isn't an example like you would usually find where Sally just goes to the grocery store and buys apples, bananas, and oranges, right? It's more complex. So because it's more complex, we need to add commas to separate our shows and our networks, okay? So that gives us a comma after anatomy, comma after race, and a comma after us. Okay, so now if we read this, it says, Sally watches shows on 3 television networks, Grey's Anatomy on ABC, The Amazing Race on CBS, and This Is Us on NBC, okay? But now I've got too many commas and I don't know where my items in a series end, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade those original commas. So Grey's Anatomy on ABC, that gets upgraded to a semicolon. The Amazing Race on CBS, that gets upgraded to a colon, semicolon, and This Is Us on NBC. Okay, so now I've separated my TV shows from my TV networks, and I've separated my items in a series. Now this is by far one of the most complex and more obscure ways that you're going to see semicolons being used, but for those of you who are a little bit more advanced, I wanted to give you an option for something that you could incorporate in your writing, okay? And our preview is that we have one other thing to do here, okay? So Grey's Anatomy, The Amazing Race, and This Is Us are all titles, okay? So next time on grammar sampling, we're going to talk about, when you have titles, how do you know if that title should be italicized or if it should be put in quotation marks? And our hint for that is big versus little. So if it's a big part that can be broken into smaller parts, it's italicized, or in this instance, it's underlined. Okay, so I will see you in class where we will have the opportunity to give you the option to sample some of the semicolon usage that we talked about today with your writing, and I will see you then. Okay.